Hi, this is Chris, and we're designing the chassis now. So this is quite a complicated procedure that we're going to be looking at. The chassis itself for this object, even though it's sketched out, is a very complicated piece. It's made up of a lot of smaller objects that are all attached together. And whilst there is some box modelling that we're going to be doing, mainly with this one, you can discover that it's down a lot to adding details in as separate geometry and then attaching it to the polygon object that we already have. Rather similar, I suppose, in a way to when we model this piece here, but obviously with a lot more detail in. Now, firstly though, as we've kept our measurements from last time, we're going to be able to find and make this a lot easier than it would be otherwise if we hadn't kept our measurements. For example, we know that the diameter on the sphere here is 50, and we need to know that for building the part that attaches that to the chassis. So what I'm going to do is drop it in the left viewport quickly, and I'm going to zoom in on this leg area here. Now I'm making quite a spindly looking thing really. So what I need to do is I want to pull out a box, and this is going to form the basis of our chassis. Now obviously I've got my sketches, but it's not an engineering drawing, so I'm not really going crazy for detail when it comes to, for example, the measurements on this. I think it's a lot easier in the long term if I'm doing things in a more free form and freehand kind of way. To be quite honest, no one's going to come up to you and say your Chaos Scorpion is not exactly right on such and such, unless they want to be committed to a mental hospital. Okay then, so I'll just align this up because I want it aligned with this piece here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a few of these. So I'm just going to affect the pivot and center it to the object. That way I can scale it out. We're going to have a couple of these, and these are going to be used as kind of the central attachment for the legs, two on each side. It's going to make it easier both for rigging, and it's also going to make it easier for putting the model together, to be quite honest. Okay, right click, convert to edible polygon. Now I just scaled that. When it comes to linking for doing the rigging, if I don't apply an X form, which is just here, to this object, and then just collapse it again, if I don't apply an X form to this, then when it comes to linking we're going to get all sorts of problems here. Right, next thing, I'm going to drop into the left viewport, and we've got an object that we need to add around about here, and that's a tube. The tube is going to be the part that kind of links onto this. So I'm creating it in the side viewport, obviously, and I'm going to create the center to be around about here. Okay, and radius 1 is going to be 50, and radius 2 is going to be round about 85 to 90. I think 90 is a good number. Okay, oops, hang on. So about 50 and about 90. And then just give it some depth. And now I can go over here and actually fill in the details manually. Radius 1 50, radius 2 90, give it a height of about 20, one height segment, one cap segment, 18 sides. Okay then, I'm going to go into our I'm going to go into our top viewport. I just want to check the thickness of this object here. I think I'll change the height on this to about 40. Make it nice and thick. I'm going to affect the pivot, just center it again, and then just center it up a bit. There we go. Okay, now the next thing I want to do, before we convert this to an editable polygon, I want to do a slice. And I want to do my slice from about there, so about 30 degrees. I want to take it all the way down to about 215, I think, or rather minus 215. There we go. That way the ball is going to fit inside here, and if you look, the pivot point is exactly central here, which is useful. So convert to editable polygon. That's now in the right place. And what I'm going to do is just grab both these, and if I move these into the right place, which is just over here, it should be just a little bit bigger than the thing that I'm connected to. There we go. And now I can use this as the rotation joint. Now if we look down here, we're going to have to reduce that on the tube, so I'm going to undo that, stop it being an editable polygon, just select both and move it across. And now I'm just going to move this down like so. There we go, and across to here. And now I'm going to reduce the slice to, well, I'll reduce it to round about minus 180. There we go. That way we've got more room for the actual ball joint to move there. I think I might move the slice from to about 15 degrees possibly, just so that it's just got a slight overhang on it. Okay then, so what I'm going to do is convert this now to an editable polygon, because we don't need to use it as a base object anymore, so it's converted there. Now I'm not going to bother with the Boolean function, I don't really need to. I'm not going to apply any smoothing to this object, it's supposed to look rough and industrial. So I'm just going to zoom extents like so, and now let's see how we're going to work this object. I should really create a mirror of this on the other side over here, so what I'm going to do is just do a quick slice. I'm going to turn snap to grid on by pressing S and just cut straight down here. Then I'm going to destroy everything on this side. There we go. Now I'm going to attach this object here, and I'm going to mirror it. Just press just press the mirror button here, and I want to make a copy. Click OK. Let's get the two sides nice and close to each other. I'm not going to bother with the symmetry modifier at the minute. Actually no, yes I am, I'll use the symmetry modifier, it'll do a better job. So I'm going to click on this, go down, go into the symmetry modifier here, just flip it, and I'm going to grab the mirror gizmo and just move it across, so that of course anything that we do at this side will in turn be done to the other side there. I'm going to hit the pin, that's going to pin the stack so that any changes we make to the editable polygon we will see, and here I'm going to turn on the test tube. So now what I need to do is do the same again, make a slightly smaller curve to go around on the other side. So I'm going to drop down into the top viewport here, just enlarge that, press F3, press F4, that way I can see the polygons, and I want to make a base object again, which is a tube. Press F3, turn off snap to, just the S key again. I'm going to create another one. If you remember it was 40 previous one, I'm going to make it about 30 for this. So radius 50 by 90 by about 20, 118, and let's just move that to the center of this object here, and yes, you can do that automatically, and no, I'm not going to bother. Okay, now what I want to do obviously is do another slice, and I don't want it to slice the full distance, this is just going to be here basically to hold it in place, so we want to slice it from minus 90 all the way through to plus 90, so 180 degrees. We can reduce the sides a little, take it down to 16, right click, convert to editable polygon. Now I'm certain it's not in the right position because they never are, so I'm just going to drag this up. And zoom in on the left viewport. Now how I zoom in is I'm just using my, because I'm using a mouse at the moment and a trackball, I've got a mouse wheel in the middle, and I'll just use that to zoom in. What I want to do is just bring this down. There we are. Now I'm going to attach it. So pin the stack there, let's close that, and click attach. There we go. Now then, if we look, it's replicated on this side because we've got the symmetry modifier on. Excellently useful. Okay, so we're going to want to start from the underside, so let's turn off the attach, right click, and we're going to hide unselected, immediately making things easier for ourselves. And I want to go into the bottom viewport, so I'm right clicking where it says top, go to views and click bottom. Now I can scoot in, and what I want to do is start adding in the parts that are going to give us the detail. So press F3 and F4 so I can see what I'm doing, and I want to select by poly. So I'm going to select this one here because this is the symmetry side, and I'm going to do an inset. And I'm just going to do it freehand, bring that in. Then what I'm going to do is select this polygon here and just delete it. And I want to select this line, and I'm going to bring this line just to connect with this one. There we go. So this gives us a bit of a border. Then I'm going to select this one again, bring that to there. Now I like working in the perspective viewport as well, so I'm going to go over here, drop down to my perspective viewport, and what I want to do is select this polygon here and bevel it like that. Take out the middle polygon, just click delete, and then I'm going to select this line and just bring it together. This will give us the nice base of the chassis here. Now, next part I want to do is I want to select this polygon here and just inset it a little bit, and then take out this part here. And what we're doing now is we're just adding in detail. It's like greebling. There's a plugin called Greeble that I do use a lot in certain tutorials, especially in Max 5. I've had a lot of Max 5 tutorials that I've used Greeble in, but I'm not so keen to use it in this one, simply because it will cause us slightly more problems, in that the Greeble isn't really a very realistic one, it's more suited towards large objects. Okay, so with that done, I'm now going to select this again. I want to rotate it round, and I'm going to use my hinge from edge. Select this edge here and bring it back. Now, join my left viewport and press polygon select button. We can see they're still highlighted. I'm just going to click view align. That way they'll be perfectly aligned towards this viewport, so they're nice and flat. Now back into my perspective viewport again, and we've got the basic fundamentals for putting this together. So now we need to start putting in more trenches for adding detail in. So I'm going to bevel this back. I want to bevel it in quite far as well if I can. There we go. And delete off these two polygons here and here. Then selecting by line, select this one and this one, and just pull them back. It doesn't matter if your lines overlap, because when we collapse the symmetry modifier, we'll still end up with just one line down the middle. So close the edge. Okay. So what we want to do here now is create some pipe work. And I want a large central pipe and then some smaller pipes feeding off it. So I'm going to make a cylinder. I'm going to use my auto grid. Just get it aligned to the center of this line here, which is pretty easy to do. And just bring it out. Now then, it's got 5 height segments. We don't need that many. So just drop it down to 1. Drag this up a little and just increase the radius. There we go. And I want to make one about there. Then I want to bring another one all the way over to here, like that. I'll make a small box, which is going to go down here. Just bring it out to a random height. The height doesn't really matter at this point. I'll explain why in a few minutes. There we go. Now we want to create a baton, so I'm going to create another cylinder coming off here, make it nice and long, and then just move it down. I'm going to press F3 so I can see where it is. I want it to intersect both these pieces here, and it does. Could do with moving a little bit more to the right here. There we go. Okay, F3. Now I'm going to hit the attach button again. I just want to attach these pieces here. Now, if I go to my bottom viewport, which is just over here, I want to do a quick slice. Now then, you don't want to intersect the main body, you want it just outside. Try and keep your cut as straight as you can. There we go. And then selecting my polygon, I'm just going to move down here and trim off all the ends. Make sure you haven't got ignore back facing turned on. And just delete. There we go. So now we can go back into our perspective viewport. There we go. And our chassis shape now is starting to take form, and we've got these rather nice bolts and pipes coming on. So we need some more detail, and there's a large one that I want to add down here, which will be part of our stabilizing system, or at least that's what we're going to pretend it is. So what I want to do is create a cylinder, which I'm going to do in my left viewport. And it's going to be, here we are, cylinder. Just create it from the middle here and pull it out like that. Bring in a little bit. There we go. Give it a height of about 60. Now we can do the editing here. So a rad of 130, height of 60, height segments 1, 1, sides 18, slice on. And we're going to slice it from 0 to 180. There we go. Right click, convert to editable polygon. Now I want to, actually I don't want to adjust that part of it because I want this as a nice barrel piece. So zoom extends all, drop into my perspective viewport, and we're going to start moving this into the right place now. Should be around about there. There's a lot of switching viewports has to go on, just to make sure you're getting things in the right place. It is worth taking your time here. There we go. So we've got this nicely centralised now. Now then, in our left viewport, I'll just check the symmetry on this object again. Right then, I can see which side we need to do the symmetry on. So, another quick slice. Straight down the middle. Use the old snap to. Give it a half of it. Now over here, we can just attach it again, and now we have the whole object. So we can go into our perspective viewport, there we are, and do a couple of operations on it. So, want to inset it. Now if you look, it's going to inset from two sides at once. That's okay, we can sort that out quite easily. Just get rid of this inner one here. And same as last time, we're just going to move the lines together. Giving us just one in the middle. Now this piece here, I'm going to bevel slightly. And down. Same again. Come round. Now if you look, we're starting to get unneeded polygons doing weird things up here. So delete those. And if we just push these lines together, they should automatically fix themselves. And they do. Okay. Nice. Okay, now what I want to do is just put some holes in this. There, 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 and there. I'm just going to inset those slightly, and then extrude them back. Okay. Okay, and that's the first part of our detail work on the chassis done. So, I'll see you in the next part.